Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the afternoon Festival of Enterprise Bounce Back live webinar. Today, I'm joined with Gavin Preston, who is a business strategist, former chartered accountant working with one of the top 4 KPMG, and has over 25 years experience working with high growth SMEs and supporting large organizations with their strategy, and especially within the growth, supporting them with growth. So today's session is going to be all about Gavin's new book, Survive and Thrive. And, what a perfect time to be writing a book like this, Gavin. I think, people don't really understand how much effort goes into writing books and just how much knowledge there are in books and how people can read books and get the information they need to help them with their business. And this is something we were talking about before we started, just how important books are when it comes to business and learning. And, we're in one of the weirdest situations we would ever find ourselves in business right now. And I think, the word unprecedented, as much as it's been overused, there's no other way of explaining where we are right now. But I'll hand over to you to do a quick introduction, and then we'll get started sort of talking about maybe some of the questions people may ask and some of the questions I've got for you about your book.
Great. So thank you so much. I think we've got a bit of feedback. Has it come through speakers at your end?
It might be, yeah.
Yeah, if you've got any headphones to plug in, then we won't necessarily get the feedback. So Kasim, thank you very much for having me here. Thanks, a real privilege to be here on the Festival of Enterprise. Just a quick shout out to Joanne in Lancaster. Hello, I was born and bred in Lancaster. Yes, often rains there. And then I moved and spent a good deal of my upbringing in Lake Windermere before relocating down to Conway here on the North Wales coast. And it's pretty dull, like it is for most places around at the moment. But it's a real privilege to be here. Today, we're going to talk about the messages and the strategies in Survive and Thrive, how to secure, scale and succeed in business, because now more than ever, people in business need the tools, the ideas, the experiences, the case studies contained within the book. And I want to give you a little mini masterclass on some of the tools that are coming out there, both on the area of Survive and the area of Thrive. And, I hark from the north. I'm a sort of down-to-earth guy. I say it as it is. And the book is written in very down-to-earth, practical language with practical steps. And it's a combination of distillation is a better word, a distillation of 25 years of experience working with large organizations like the United Nations, HSBC, Rio Tinto, international massive corporates, through to many, many small, high growth, small to medium sized enterprises, working with them to improve the performance of the individuals and also to develop the strategy for a business to scale and grow. So I've seen what works in growing a business. I've seen, what doesn't work. I've been the other side of the fence and I've scaled businesses as well, from being a part of the senior management team with the board of the business. So I know that this stuff works and, been through the challenges and the ups and downs of growing business, both in my own businesses and other businesses. So everything I share is based on that 25 years of experience. So, Kazim, you got some questions you want to take me through?
So I think first of all, I wanted to sort of ask you, as an entrepreneur, as an individual that's out there supporting business, what made you write the book?
It's a really great question. It was written because I grew up in survival. My dad was a commission-only salesman when I was a kid at home, and depending on how well he sold that month or that week, depending on whether whether we not only had food on the table, but his income was like that. So sometimes he'd have good months, sometimes he wouldn't have good months. There was always uncertainty about finances. There was always uncertainty about holidays and things like that. And then my dad set up his own business, and he set up 2 or 3 different businesses, but he went from operating out of 2 spare rooms in a house to taking on a massive 9,800 square foot building in Windermere in the Lake District. And he needed to set up 4 businesses to make ends meet. He was working 7 days a week, 6-7 days a week, 14, 16, 18 hours a day. and he was really struggling to make ends meet. And I used to do his cash flow forecasting and pay his suppliers at a time when I was doing my training for KPMG. And I used to drive back down the motorway and thinking, is he going to be in business when I see him again in 2 weeks' time? So I know what it feels like and what it's like for business owners that are working so hard and they're putting everything in, sacrificing time with their family, sacrificing their health, sacrificing the rest of their life in order to try and make their business work, in order to keep that business's head above water, in order for it to survive. And I wrote this book if I'd had in my early 20s a manual, one of the books like on the shelf behind me that I could have given to my dad when I was 21, 22, when he was really struggling, this is the book I would have given him. And it's the distillation of everything that I've learned. And also it brings together a number of different concepts. You'll get a book on strategy. We talk about strategy in the book, but we'll get a book on strategy and you'll get a book on mindset, but you don't always get you don't get a book that talks about mindset and strategy and goal setting and what you need to do to scale a business and grow capability in a business. And so I brought it all together into one place and said, this is the manual. If you're in surviving mode right now and you're struggling, and many will, and it's going to get worse over the coming months and 12, 18 months, then this book will tell you tactically what you need to do right now in order to get out of it. Or if you're plateauing and you want to get back into growth, then the Thrive part of the book is based around my 6-step model, the strategy compass, which we'll talk about in more depth. And that sets you up to grow and thrive. And I think actually at the moment, our mindset needs to be one of, even if the reality of your business world is not great, it's not so stable. Just like martial artists, practitioners are taught to sort of punch beyond the target, we should be focusing on thriving, not just how do we stay afloat, how do we thrive? So that's why the book says as to business owners who put so much sweat, blood and tears and passion and energy and effort at great sacrifice into their business and are not seeing the results that they desire, I wouldn't be able to get them out of that situation and moving forward.
Well, definitely. I think, business owners work so hard. They're constantly working. And sometimes it's just having that right information, having the right information to make the right decisions and take the right steps to grow their business, or at least make it profitable where they're not working in the business, they're working on the business and making the business work for them. And I think these are really important things. I see business books daily. And it's great to see so many entrepreneurs like your good self who are taking the time out, because writing a book's not easy. It's not easy at all.
No.
And every year at the Business Book Awards, when a winner stands on stage, the first thing they do is they apologize to their family and their business, because they're having to take time away from their own business and take away time from their family to actually put all this information and all this experience that they've gained over a number of years of working in industry to then write a book and write a book in a way that it actually gives a message to the business owners that are reading it as well. So thank you so much for doing that. And
I'll tell you a story. For all too many family holidays, the laptop would come with me and I would sneak off whenever I could to try and get a chapter written. And if I got really, really busy with work and client work and the business, the book always got sort of deprioritized, except on holiday. So I was not the best husband or father, and so it is a great big acknowledgement to my wife and boys for putting up with me doing it, and just by being a bit mischievous when the box arrived of the books, and I turned to my wife and said, "Great, time to start to write the next one." You can imagine the look I got back.
Yeah, I can assume she probably wasn't very happy about that, because like I said, we see daily. We see just how much work goes in. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's a very noble thing to do, because you are literally sharing all of your secrets in a book and giving that to people at a very low cost. So, I'm not going to talk too much about that now. I think Joanne's already sort of put a question in that she's bought your book. Thanks a lot, Joanne.
Thank you, Joanne.
And she wants you to really go into the 6 steps of the strategy compass.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll let you fire away on that, really.
Yeah, so there's the strategy compass is a model that is populated that the thrive, the part 2 of the book, the thrive part of the book is based upon. And, I'll hold up a visual for you as I talk now here within the book of the strategy compass, and I'll talk you through it. And I'll keep flashing it up because I don't want to be spending my time talking, peering around in the gap between the microphone and the book. But the whole idea of this is the 6 steps we need to get right in our business. I love water, I love sailing, I love the sea. And so a hobby of mine is sailing. So there's the metaphor about navigating ourselves through turbulent times and into growth. But at the heart of the compass here, step 1 is purpose. Popularized by Simon Sinek's brilliant work, his book Start With Why, and he's an amazing TED talk on the subject. He talks about, a business needs a bigger purpose, and a business, what are you up to in the world? What is it, the difference that you're making to your customers and to your customers? And I think now more than ever, we'll talk about planning a little later, but now more than ever, when we have uncertainty across so many fronts, which is causing people some paralysis in their thinking and in decision making around what if we go into more localized lockdowns, which of course is happening in some places. What if there isn't an extension of furlough? What if there is no more CBILS, both of which is probably not likely to be? How are we going to get through? How do we even plan with so much uncertainty? More than ever, we need an overriding North Star. Where is it that we're heading in our business? What is the purpose? What are we up to? Where are we heading in our business? And we've got to. It's not just the pursuit of money that's enough. You've got to be thinking, what's the difference that we're making to our marketplace, to our customers, customers. Step 2 is mindset. And if you're going to change the trajectory of a business, you need to change the thinking of the people who are running that business. As business owners, where a business will often cap out, will plateau, is when we got to the limit of the thinking of the people at the top of the business. And one of the single biggest differences that have made the difference, when I used to run a program called Double Your Business, and I would literally help people to double their business in 12 months or less, the biggest difference that made the difference was shifting the mindset in the thinking of the business owner, and pulling back the curtain of the art of the possible of what they could potentially achieve within their business. Then you need to be clear. Step 3 is on outcome. Where you're heading, back to that kind of North Star, but what are your goals for your business? I did a 2-year speaking tour for HSBC and did 84 events up and down the UK over 2 years. And they put anywhere between 30 and 275 people in a room. And every room I asked, who here has written down goals for the next 1, 2, 3 years? And it was amazing that whether we were in Glasgow or whether we were in Plymouth, that less than 20% of the room put their hand up to say they got written goals. So it sounds really basic, but it isn't. It sounds common sense, but it's certainly not common practice. So that's outcome. And I share with you ways in which actually you could really engage teams of people within your business to strive and achieve much higher results than they thought were possible before. Once we know where we're going to go, the outcome, the very next question that people ask is how are we going to get there? That's strategy, step 4. So we've had purpose, we've had mindset. When we've got clear on where we're going, we've got outcome. Then the next one, of course, because it's back to front, obviously, then you've got strategy. And that's step 4. How are we going to get there? So I share with you some strategic planning models that you can use as lenses through which to look at your business and get some really valuable insights about how you can stand out in a busy, crowded marketplace. Once we know how we're going to get there, step 5 is the capability pieces. How do we build the capability and capacity in the business to scale? So we want to be able to scale the business. And then finally, and really importantly, we need the action and accountability mechanism, step 6 in our business, to follow through and deliver on that. So for each of those 6 steps, I've got strategies, I've got techniques, I've got case studies and examples of what you need to do to develop purpose. 5 things you can need to do in terms of mindset. And I've got a mnemonic we may dip into called Strive, which are 5 mindset tools, are the best mindset tools I've come across in 25 years. If you want to grow capability, I've got a mnemonic called Scale. And the letters of Scale spell the things that you need to get right in your business in order to be able to scale. So there's a lot of depth that sits behind that high level model, the strategy compass. And that came from me distilling What are the things that have to be in place in order for a business to grow, for it to thrive, for it to double in a year or less? Sorry, Kasim, I didn't hear that.
Sorry about that. I was on mute. I didn't want too much noise while you were talking. So in your opening, you talked about one of your favorite books, Why? And I just want you to sort of go into a bit more about why that book's so important for you, and again, why should the audience read that book as well as reading your book, and what are the key messages, the key takeaways from those books?
Yeah, so if we talk about Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, he talks about the golden circle, and you're saying that at the center of that golden circle, you've got why, and then you've got how and what. So there's three concentric circles: why, how, and then what. And he said that a lot of people, a lot of companies, when they are looking to pitch, to sell their offer, will say, here's the features and benefits, here's the what, here's what it does for you, and this is why you do it. And he cites the example of a typical computer hardware manufacturer would say, hey, look at my latest laptop. It's got this specification of hard drive, this specification of RAM, this size of this specification of processor and screen. And most people just glaze off about that, and they never really get to why. Whereas Apple put it on their face, and they're just saying, we exist at the interface, or we look to strive the interface, the balance between art and technology, and we want to design a computer and an experience that's user-friendly, it's aesthetically beautiful and so easy to use and works so well that even a 2-year-old could use. We happen to build computers, or we happen to build digital devices. Do you want one? And you start with the why, about the create a movement. And I think the reason why it's really important is, let's take it at 3 different populations: a customer population, an employee population, and also the population of potential suppliers as well. If you, as a population of employees, if you're given a target to hit, that target isn't enough. It's just a number that you've been told to hit. But if it doesn't have any meaning to you, if you don't feel it's part of something, you're not necessarily going to want to give of your best, nor are you going to be attracted to work there in the first place. So if there's a bigger purpose, people that go and work for Elon Musk at SpaceX are going there because they want to be the part of the team that helps human beings become a multi-planetary species, to create a civilization on Mars. That's just phenomenal. And people are attracted to something as big as that. The supply chain, when you've got a bigger purpose and a bigger why that's compelling and that's meaningful enough, you can attract the very best suppliers. Customers, they don't want to be sold to. They want to get a great value for money, but they want to get a service that makes a difference. And they want to be a part of a movement. So if you can find something that captures hearts as well as minds, that makes a difference, that has a bit of a calling to it, or as Jim Collins in his book Good to Great talks about, the BHAG, the big hairy audacious goal, something that's 20 years out that will probably outlive your time in that business, but it's something the business is working towards, that's really compelling. It pulls towards you the best of the customers, the best of the talent to work within your team, and the best of the supply chain. So it's
really interesting. Just to stop you there, Gavin, an organization like John Lewis, how they sell the same products as everyone else. If you think about it, they sell, but it's the way they treat their customers, and it's about that why. It's about the customer service that they provide to their customers, and also the way they I think John Lewis provide extra warranty for products and services, and that's how they've managed to capture their audience and their clientele. And they don't do anything different in terms of products. So that, the point you made about selling the hardware, this is what it does. It's that it comes back to that why, and why their clients go to John Lewis. Why would someone shop at John Lewis as opposed to any other electrical supplier or clothing outlet? Because the products are pretty much the same. But
because they know they're going to be looked after. You know, we know that the partners, the team members, employees of John Lewis, the partners of John Lewis are looked after, and that's just hard baked into their culture. So if they're going to look after their employees in that way, those employees, those partners are going to look after the customers in the same way.
Yeah. So sorry to stop you there. It was just really interesting, because I was looking previously this week. I was looking at different organisations and who are surviving currently and who are not surviving. And you know, we're looking at, you know, we saw House of Fraser sort of go into administration. We're looking at some of our big brands going into administration. Debenham saying they're closing stores. And it's just understanding what the difference is between some of these organizations and why they're surviving. And I think, you know, you're going to explain to us now how to survive in these tough times.
Yeah, so in part one of the book, I talk about if you really are in survival mode, these are the things you need to do. Cash is king, as we all know, but cash flow forecasting and planning is something that's not often done, or it's only done at the point where your bank manager or your relationship manager says, hey, can I have a cash flow forecast when you're applying for a loan? You should now extend, at the beginning of lockdown, I was saying to people, make sure your cash flow forecast is to the end of 2021, sorry, to end of 2020, and make sure you get enough funding, whether it's from a bounce back loan or a CBILS loan, whatever source, to make sure you're okay until the end of 2020. Because whilst I knew we were heading into a recession as a result of the lockdown, cyclically we were due for one anyway. What I didn't realize that we would necessarily have other phased lockdowns around the UK that's going to create even more economic uncertainty and lowering of demand. So everybody should extend their cash flow now to December 21 and should be starting to think about working through different scenarios. If we do have to have a localized lockdown in our area of operation, what's that going to do to our ability to serve our customers? What will happen to our supply chain? We probably may or may not, but I would say 70-30% chance against there being any more furlough. 70-30% is just my estimation. Chance against being able to go back and get any bills or business bounce back loan. We've got what we can get, and if you haven't already, by the way, apply for a business bounce back loan or a CBILS loan, get your application in quick, because literally within a month or so they won't be there anymore. They'll have closed the door on them. Some originally CBILS was going to close 4th of October. I've heard some murmurs that it's going to close in September. So I really would get your applications in if you can, if you haven't done already. But
I think just on finance there, Gavin, I think you're making some really, really key points there. And actually, I remember reading an article at the start of lockdown. Primark had a massive cash in the bank. They had cash in the bank, but they still went to their bank and drew out their whole credit line on the basis that they wanted that money in the bank, and they did not trust the fact that the banks may change their mind later on down the line. So they wanted that money, that hard cash in their bank account, that if they needed to spend it, it was there for them to spend, and it was there at their disposal.
On CBILS or on business bounce back, you've got 12 months before, and you don't pay any interest for the 12 months, and you've got 12 months before you start paying any repayment terms. And I would recommend take the money out. If you don't need it within that 12-month period, then of course you can hand it back, and it's cost you absolutely nothing. If you do need it, it's better to have got it now. But also it might mean that you can look for it. You've got a war chest that you could look for some acquisition opportunities, something I'm working with people and businesses right now, finding those acquisition opportunities and partners on that. And then also you might be able to buy some in more bulk for raw material, or use some early money for early settlement discounts. In other words, you could use that money, put it to gainful employment in your business to be able to improve your profit margin. If you're using factoring as a financing mechanism at the moment, which is really expensive, then having some free money for a year that might be able to get you out of factoring, happy days. That's money straight back on your bottom line. So,
well, definitely. I mean, especially with a bounce back loan sort of, and CBILS equally, the sort of interest rate that you're paying of 2.5% is literally nothing. It is free money essentially in the business world. And I think, you know, it's a good opportunity for you to restructure your finances. If you have got a lot of finance on your business, it's a great opportunity for you to look at how can you reduce that negative equity.
Well, the other thing to also look at is for those of you who've got loans where there's personal guarantees against you, then you can replace those with a business bounce back loan, which is 100% government backed, no PGs against you, or a CBILS, which is 80% government backed. And if your loan value is less than your CBILS loan value is less than 250,000, then there's no personal guarantee against you. So that could be a game changer in terms of protection of your own personal assets as well, your home. So the first piece there is around cash and cash forecasting and making sure that you got enough of a buffer. And now we've got some time before we kind of the winter bites and any further sort of regionalized or localized lockdowns to be able to think of, if we saw a lockdown and we didn't have furlough and we didn't have the ability after September, October to get more CBILS or business bounce back, what are the let's scenario plan. What are the ways in what are the things that we can do or that we could do in order to get through from a cash position until the December 21? The second part that relates to is then, well, let's look at our cost base. Let's look at any subscriptions software subscriptions or other subscriptions that we don't fully utilize, that we don't need. But fundamentally, we should be looking to reduce costs where possible to just sort of strip some fat off the bone. But you've got to bear in mind, you want to emerge from this thriving. So you don't want to pay a cost back so much that you haven't got a business or you haven't got a team in order to be able to deliver to your customers. What you will see, though, is we need to grow our adaptability as businesses, our ability to flex in response to market demands changing. So where possible, try to shift as much of your your cost base that is currently fixed cost into a variable cost base. So if you've got expensive office leases and you've got people that are working from home more and more, then can you get out of your office lease? And then when you bring them together, you use a co-working space once a week or twice a month or whatever, in order to bring the team together from that camaraderie point of view. Can van purchases go on contract hire, rentals, or even rentals, so that your company vehicles, if you see a downfall in demand, you're not stuck in a 3-year lease? So there will be areas of your cost base that are pretty much fixed and you can't change them in the short term, that you may be able to plan to move into more variable cost. Employees, can you staff up to meet in full-time employees? You meet the troughs in demand through full-time employees, and then you fulfill the difference between the trough and the peak in demand with freelance resource, with outsourcing resource, with subcontractors. All of these help you keep flexibility in your cost base. So and then we want to be looking around. So we're looking at cost, we're looking at flexibility and cost base, reducing costs. What are the things that we can do to increase sales and to increase margin so that we increase profit? So in the book, I take you through literally lists of tactical things you can do to improve your cash flow, to smooth out your peaks and troughs in your cash flow, to save money, to improve your sales and your sales margins, and to put more profit on the bottom line. The other thing that's massively critical is that we need to have the right mindset, the mindset of the victor rather than the victim. Hey, shit's happened. The world is different now. We've got to get over that. So now the difference between the businesses that survive or thrive is down to mindset. It's a choice. There are some businesses out there that are head in the sand and they're paralyzed about what to do next. And they're not testing. They're not innovating. They're not listening to the customers and finding out how the customers' demands and needs are changing. But there are other businesses out there right now that are saying, within a period of uncertainty, there's opportunity. Let's talk to our customers. Let's listen to what they need. Let's see who is showing an interest in what we've got to offer. Let's innovate, iterate in the market, try with the market in terms of the opportunity with our products and our offering to market. So just test to see what we get traction with. Fail fast, fail forward, and that's what we need to be doing now. But you've got to have that mindset that this could be a defining moment for you in your business. This could be the moment where you look at it afresh and look at your cost base and look at your business model afresh and go, now is the time I can emerge from this as a victor, not a victim. I can be the architect, the writer, the author of my own comeback story. And actually, this could be a defining moment for your career, for your business, and help you spot an opportunity in the market that you would not otherwise have seen.
Definitely, Gavin. And we were on a webinar with Dell just before this one, and they were talking about how you can save money by renting stock and tech rather than buying tech.
Absolutely.
So a lot of businesses who are probably thinking, I need to buy a new laptop, I need to buy a new computer, they can actually go onto a subscription service with Dell where they're getting the best tech for their business, which is making them more productive, less downtime at a fraction of the cost, and they could be saving 80% of the cost over a year. And there's so many different ways that businesses could be saving money. And there's a lot of admin intensive work people do, and they need to look at tech as a way of changing that. I think myself, I'm guilty of this myself in my own business. I'm really scared of change. And a lot of business owners are scared of change. You know, if you're used to doing something all the time, and then all of a sudden you've got to move to a tech platform, it can be quite daunting to sort of learn how to do things. What sort of advice would you give to business owners about change and sustainability and you know, throwing out with the old and in with the new? Because that seems to be a big thing at the moment, especially with people now working from home and they're being forced into this new world order as such.
Yeah, I'll paraphrase what Bain and Co, a big international consulting, one of the top consultancy organizations, said that we need to, in order to grow our adaptability. So as businesses, we need to increase our adaptability. And they cite three things. Well, they then break that down into each one of the further three, so 9 points. But I'll paraphrase. So point number one was direction. That's that North Star, where you're heading in your business. Whilst we haven't got a crystal ball as to where we will go, what's going to happen in the world around us, we can be making steps forward in the direction of where we're heading in our business. What's our ultimate goal? So having clarity and reminding everybody in the business of the direction. The second point that they make is around flexibility of cost base, which is what we just talked about, shifting fixed costs into variable costs. Renting, like you said, more and more of us, don't buy a phone, our mobile, we rent it. We rent, we consume the ownership. We rent access to Netflix rather than buying a DVD, or even buying the download. We rent access. So we're used to this subscription model now. And so we need to be applying that in our cost base. So that's cost adaptability. Cost flexibility helps to increase adaptability. And the third point they make is having a pro change culture. And that's just speaking directly to the point that you're making, Kazim, is that ultimately most people are reluctant to change. And the reason that is psychologically is we're fearful of change because our brains, the first part of our brain, the limbic portion, the back of the brain, wants to keep us safe. And there is a natural perception or default perception that change equals threat. And therefore we will shy away from it because we want to keep it safe. The businesses that are going to thrive right now, those with the greatest adaptability, are those that will run forward and embrace change, and that will develop the behaviors and the cultures that's a pro-change culture. Come on, let's give this a go. And rather than, no, that'll never work, or that's not going to, we're not going to do that, or that's not how we do it around here. We want the attitude of, come on, how could it work? What are the things that we can do? And, I think what we will see is a big correction in the business world right now, whether it's small, medium or large businesses, where those that are pro-change, those that are prepared to iterate, to try something new, to talk to customers, to experiment and eventually fail forward to find out what really works, those that are proactive with the right mindset will emerge from the turbulence miles ahead, streets ahead. They will be the victors from this, but there will be a lot of casualties on the way. And we've got to have a choice that we will not be a casualty, and we've got to be up for that journey of change. Look, we try something. If it works, great. Brilliant. If it doesn't, try something else. If it doesn't, try something else. And that's the attitude that we need to bring to our businesses and our engagement with our customers and our marketplace.
Definitely. No, thank you for that. And I think, just to sort of say, I think we need to do more to sort of change our mindsets when it comes to this fear factor. And again, this comes back to books and how you can read books to look at how you think and look at different ways of thinking, trying to outweigh the benefits of change to the way you're doing things normally. But Gavin, what is the best way of getting over this fear factor? Because I think a lot of people are always scared to move forward, and especially when you don't know what the future holds. So right now, I mean, not just generally with change, but in terms of making business decisions right now, I can assume a lot of businesses are fearful for the future. What is it that they can do to overcome fear, which is one of the biggest things I think all business owners feel?
So let's just recognize that fear is there for a purpose. It's to keep us safe. So it serves a positive purpose. The response, fight or flight, or rabbit in the headlight, paralysis. But so we don't want to dismiss it and say necessarily it's a bad thing. It only becomes a bad thing if it invokes paralysis, i.e. you do nothing, because that's not going to achieve anything. If you are currently in an okay cash position because you've drawn down C-bills or bounce back or whatever, now's the time when you are relatively calm to start to plan through what's your plan A, your plan B, your plan C, your plan D, your plan E, plan F. So because in order to be able to come up with creative solutions to complex problems, we need to be able to access this cerebral cortex on the top of our brains. When we're in fight or flight, all the brain circuitry maps to the limbic portion at the back of the brain, and that is only able to do fight, flight, or freeze. So we have to be calm, and when we are relatively calm, let's do our scenario planning. And then when we are under more challenging circumstances, and of course it's all relative, but more challenging circumstances, then okay, let's follow the plan. Oh, okay, plan A is not working out, right? Let's divert to plan B or plan C. Just follow the plan. So that's the first thing about it. The other analogy to use is, the nights are starting to draw in, unfortunately, and we jump in our car in an evening and we put the lights on, we put the headlights on. Even on main beam, you can only see 200, 300 yards ahead. And so you can't see all of the way to your destination. You can just see the next 200 or 300 yards in front of you, but we still manage to navigate ourselves safely in our car to our end destination. And that's the piece that we've got to take the next step. We've got to take the next step and the next step after that, but with a positive mindset. I got hooked into loads of SH1T on social media, and particularly in the way the lockdown was continued longer in Wales and the impact negative that it had on my business. And I got sucked into all of that, and I realized it was serving me no purpose. And so I just cut off from all of that. I cut off from the media. And then I started to make sure that I was using and fully implementing the mindset practices that I show within part 2 of the model, the strategy compass. There's 6 stages of a strive model, and each, the S, the T, the R, the I, the V, the E, are 6 separate mindset tools that if you constantly and regularly put them into practice, you feel different, you attract different conversations, you're open and receptive to different opportunities, and all of a sudden things start to come your way. Fear is recognized, it's there to keep you safe, but if you stay still, you'll get eaten by the tiger. Yeah, you've got to be wary of the risk. Let's plan and mitigate against those risks, but let's look at the upside.
Yeah, so a lot of businesses right now may be in pause mode, and they may be thinking, okay, let's not take any drastic decisions, let's wait. What would your advice be to any business that's currently waiting?
I think business like life is constantly moving, it's constantly dynamic, and like nature, there's always the circle or the cycle between spring, summer, autumn, winter. There's a tides forever coming in or going out. There might be a slight pause for breath between the tide turning, but things are always changing and moving. And if you stand still, you're going to get left behind. And to stand still, or some people put their head in the sand and thinking, "Oh, I'll bring my head out of the sand." It's ever approaching, kind of like September time, everything will be okay. Those businesses are really going to struggle. So I wouldn't pause. I would experiment. I would talk to customers. I would be paying attention to where the changing need is in your market. I'd be looking about how you can improve the value that you're bringing to your customer base. And also I'd be thinking about, well, if I'd noticed in the first round of lockdowns that there was a real threat or interruption in my supply chain, where else can I look for alternative sources of supply so I can still continue to trade whilst in lockdown? And you might also want to be thinking about new product lines or new revenue streams. Where are the opportunities going to be in a time of recession? recession, because let's face it, we're going to go into probably the worst recession that most of us on this call have had in our career or living memory. However, we have in business all been through previous recessions. We know what worked, what didn't work before. These circumstances are somewhat different, but the worst thing you can do is just pause. I'll caveat with that one thing, and it might, and this isn't meant to be contradictory. The best thing you can do is take time to think. So do nothing and pause, absolutely the worst thing to do. Take time to talk to customers, to look at the market, to see what's working, what's not working, and carve out in your schedule 2 or 3 times a week specific dedicated thinking time, and so you can pay attention. Just take one for each time you sit down and think. Take one question and really think deeply, uninterrupted time to think deeply on one of those areas. That will give you great insights and help with your business. That actually using your brain properly, you may even surprise yourself with some of the ideas that you come up with.
Thanks, Gavin. I think myself, in terms of our business, we're in events were literally just stopped, brought to a halt, and we had a very difficult decision to make. What do we do? And I still know a lot of companies within the event space who have just stopped. They can't do anything. They're not putting on any events. We knew that if we stopped building momentum in the event sector and then stopping, meant we then had to do all of that hard work that we've built up over the past couple of years all over again. And we just couldn't afford to do that. So we have actually used the time, although we haven't been able to do a lot of business, we've used the time to think about how we're going to change our business and make our business adaptable to what will be the new normal. I think, we have talked about the new normal, and will there be a new normal, or what will be normal? But, I think right now, where we are and what we know, I think life is never going to be the same again. Would you agree?
Yeah, and what we've got is a level of grieving over the way that life was. I used to spend 2 or 3 days a week out on the road seeing clients. In actual fact, this evening I'm going to go away and I'll spend a day face to face with one of my clients tomorrow, and I've not seen them since before lockdown. But I would normally be away 2 or 3 nights a week on the road seeing clients and helping them with their business. So that took some adjusting. And, many of you may have heard of this idea about the change curve and the kind of emotional journey that we go through in response to change or grief. And it was work that was initially done by Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and her study around our human emotional responses to bereavement, to grief. And initially we'll go into, particularly if somebody's been ill for a long period of time, there might be some relief, and then there'll be denial, and then there will be anger, and then there'll be despair, and there'll be despondency, and then there'll be acceptance, and then hope. And then the response that we go through in the world of business and to changes in our career or our business follows a very, very similar curve. So we've just got to accept that if we've been feeling a bit down, a bit aggrieved, a bit despondent, that's normal. But now we've got to be looking at what can we create in the future. Let's set aside, remind ourselves, why did we get in business in the first place? What was the difference? Why did we really start? What was our vision, our dream, and the difference that we could make? And let's lock back onto that. But also be prepared to look at where are there new opportunities. So let's take the event industry. One of my biggest clients is in the events industry. So I've been through the survival planning with them and keeping them afloat. And, what they're looking at is obviously the move online that you've been doing, but also they're expanding their playing field. Their sandpit is now going to be geographically global rather than just UK wide. So you've dispersed your risk because you've not just got the risk or exposure to a regional or a national lockdown. You're not going to have the whole world locked down in the way it was in March and April. So now they've spread their risk globally. So that's taken a lot of work. And so they absolutely have not been standing still. They've been out there. They've been building their network. They've been leveraging that network, and they've been testing.
Thanks for that, Gavin. I think, you touched upon having those days where you're just on a downer. I call them duvet days, where you just you lie in bed. But I think we all need that downtime. It's very, very important that you do have those days where, everything's just become too much. You've got to just give some time to yourself, and I think that's really important. That's something business owners fail to do, is actually give themselves me time. How important would you say me time is in the survive and thrive?
Massive. And I think particularly at the moment that I'll make a distinction between me time and down days. The first one about down days, it's part of that change curve, the emotional response to change. You will have times when you feel a bit despondent and down, and that's okay. The danger is you wallow around that and you start to continue to throw your own pity party, and why me, why am I a victim, or poor me, my business was flying until January, February, and then my pipeline of work just evaporated overnight. Oh God, that was really crap. Right, okay, so pity party over, draw a line in the sand, take full responsibility of what's going on in your world. What are you going to do about it? Okay, well, now is the perfect opportunity to get the book project finished, get that out, get the audio book recorded, etc. Do some digital program, all of which you can get a copy of the book yourself free on surviveandthrive.cc. Just cover the postage and packaging. You like me, love to listen to books, then you can grab yourself the audio version on surviveandthrive.cc. And then I actually go into depth in some of the detailed training around the strategy compass so that you can implement and get the results right now in your business with an online training program, which again, surviveandthrive.cc. And so I used that opportunity and that time when I wasn't on the road with clients to build a digital proposition and to get content and a book published and out there in the marketplace. So you've got to decide, if you're feeling down, great, allow yourself 24, 48 hours, a weekend to feel down and say, do you know what, Sunday night, I'm drawing a line in the sand. Monday morning, I'm going to get up, I'm on it. I'm going to take full responsibility for the direction and the results of my business. So that's the first thing. The second point is about having me time. Everybody's been pushing so hard, I think. Some have been sat in the garden and on furlough, but most business owners have been pushing so hard, fueled by anxiety and adrenaline. That cocktail of emotions is incredibly tiring, and you can't sustain that over time. And the danger is we're going to go into a pretty turbulent winter. Like, for example, next week I've got 10 days. Middle of next week I've got 10 days off. I can't wait. I've not had a break since Christmas, and I pushed hard. So I think it's really relevant and important for everybody to make sure that they get a break, to recharge, to build the energy reserves and the mindset in order to come back and take on the next few months of turbulence and emerge a victor from that.
Thank you for that. And I think, just some of the things you're saying, I felt the adrenaline, I felt the need to keep going, because if we stop, then we stop. And sometimes you need to keep that energy going. But also you need to harness that energy in the right way. And I think, wellness, I know a lot of people talk about well-being, health and wellness, and just how important it is to have your own mental health and physical well-being, because if you're not well, the amount of effort you put into the business won't be as much as, if you are well.
Basics have made a big difference for me. I've increased exercise because I've been at home and been able to do more of it. So I've increased exercise. I'm fortunate. I live in a coastal environment, an outdoorsy kind of environment. So I've been able to get out in the fresh air with my two boys. So, it's been those things in terms of time outdoors and exercise have been a massive help for me, and also making sure that I get enough sleep.
Definitely. So I think, Gavin, we've talked a lot about, when you're struggling in survival, and there may be some businesses right now that actually aren't in the survival space. They're probably more in the plateau space where they're doing okay, business is continuing to run. How do they then take that business to the next level? And is complacency an issue when it comes to, when your business is sort of plateaued, it's not growing and it's not declining, but it's on that plateau? If you're a business owner and you're in that position, can becoming complacent be detrimental to your business?
I think absolutely. I think the word complacency is written on the tombstone of many failed businesses. You take some big brands like Blockbuster or Nokia. They had such a strength of position in the marketplace at one time, and they got complacent in that space. Toys R Us, they got complacent in that space, and then didn't take Amazon online in the online space. So Absolutely, there's no spare. You show me individuals in business or a business that's complacent, and I would say they've got less than 3 years to survive, unless they get enough of a wake up call and still have time to change the direction of the business. To thrive, though, that's what the strategy compass is about. Those 6 stages of get a clear purpose, get your mindset right for you and the team, get clarity on the outcome, but set a goal that's worthy of you. For goodness sake, you put so much time, sweat, energy, and blood and tears into your business at the sacrifice of so many. It's the goals that you're setting yourself. Are they worthy of somebody of your skill, your experience, your passion, and your knowledge? And if they're not, then set more, worthy goals. So that's the 3rd step, is the outcome. Step 4 is the how, the strategy, and the models that are contained within the book. I share with you. How spooky is that? I've just opened straight away on the strategy page. I share with you a number of business strategy models that you can use to help to identify and create real sort of powerful insights in your businesses. A whole series of templates that you can also get off the website. And a favorite of mine, the value discipline model. All of these are fantastic models to help give you powerful insights into how you could stand out from the crowd and create a differentiated position. Then you need to build, you talked about tech earlier on and systems, but you need to build the capability of your business to scale. And there's 5 steps to talk through in the book around. S for scale is systems. C is cash, which we've talked to quite a bit already. A is advance or innovating. And I've been talking about how we need to be innovating right now. Now is the time for innovation. L is leadership and culture. And E is effectiveness of you, yourself personally, and of your team. So to scale your business, you've got to get the systems and processes right. You've got to get your cash. Growth is hungry on cash. You need to have enough working capital in your business. You need to make sure that you're innovating, you're advancing, you're innovating. You need to make sure you've got the right leadership and culture in place, and personal effectiveness. And the one thing that businesses could so easily miss in the busyness or freneticness right now of keeping their head above water is looking after the physical and mental health of their team members. Everybody has had their own experience of lockdown. Not everybody's been sat with their feet up in the garden, for 3 or 4 months. A lot of people have been really quite worried about what has happened. They've maybe struggled at home with having to homeschool with young kids. Everybody has had their own journey. And also those that have been left behind at work in some respects that haven't been furloughed have had to do so much more by way of workload. So people are physically and mentally tired now, and we need to make sure, back to your earlier point, that we need to be able to looking after the mental and physical health of the members of our team. And culture of nurturing and caring and inspiring and leading is massively important for a business to scale and grow and ultimately to thrive right now.
It's interesting you mentioned there, Gavin, culture. And a lot of the organizations I work with, we try and build in culture as part of the DNA of the business, because happy staff and staff that are engaged with the business on a positive level will always do better. So you'll definitely see your productivity in your business increase when you've got happier staff and staff that feel a part of the company. So, culture, leadership, these are really, really key elements and stuff that's never really talked about until recently. And I think, a lot more talk about health and wellness and well-being has brought leadership to the forefront. How are you leading your teams? Are you micromanaging them? Are you letting them be their own managers? How are you managing people working from home? These are really key issues that I see day in, day out. What sort of advice would you give to people in terms of leadership? What would you say is good leadership?
I would start with being humane. Start being a human being and start listening. Hey, how's it been for you? And don't just do it to tick a management box and say, oh, I've done that management technique one-on-one. I've asked the member of the team how they feel. No, mean it. How's it been for you? What was your experience? What are your concerns? What are you looking forward to returning to work? So I think the first thing about leadership is being compassionate and humane. I love the Richard Branson quote is, first of all, look after your team, look after your employees, so they in turn will look after your customers. And I think that's what we really need to be doing now by way of leadership, is making sure that we're looking after the people in our team. But equally, in that sort of psychological contract that exists between employer and employee, yes, we're going to look after you. Yes, we're going to pay you. But in return, let's agree targets, KPIs, accountabilities of what you're going to be able to deliver, because it's time for all hands on deck now. We've got to rally the troops. And if we're going to emerge from this as in the thriving group rather than having not survived group, then we all need to pull together and, row in the same direction. So I think it's the case of, one hand, we have the harm round people, but the other hand, we're encouraging them, we're creating the pull. Come on, let's go on this journey together. Let's make a difference. Let's emerge from this super proud of the results that we've achieved.
Definitely, Gavin. And I think, like you said, you've got to really believe in it. You've got to do it from the heart. You can't just do it half-heartedly. And offering bonuses and other stuff. It's different now. People don't just want money. They want to be valued. And offering someone more money is not making them feel valued. You're just paying them for a service. They want to feel appreciated. So a lot of the stuff I try and do with organizations is get them to understand, what are you doing for your staff to tell them that they're appreciated? How are you showing them that they're appreciated?
Daniel Pink wrote a great book. It sits there behind me on the shelf, called Drive by Daniel Pink. And he talks about motivation 2.0. And their studies have shown that actually, if you want to get the best out of best performance out of people, money isn't the answer. If you've got repetitive people on a production line doing the same thing each day, each hour, then a financial incentive can provide a short-term increase in output. However, as soon as you require someone to do some thought, engage some thought, the presence of a financial reward was found to be demotivating. This was the studies. And what they said is that 3 things will help improve motivation, engagement, and performance. And that is having purpose, which we've just been speaking about, having a clear purpose. Second, autonomy, so empowering an individual to get on and achieve their objectives themselves. And third, the opportunity for them to develop mastery in their area of skill set, the area of their work. So purpose, autonomy, and mastery were seen as, from Daniel Pink's research in his book Drive, was seen as being the things that we need to do in a modern day to keep team members and employees engaged and performing at the best.
Definitely. I think we could keep talking all day long about this stuff, but we are coming close to the end. Are there any closing comments you'd like to make, Gavin, before we finish?
Yeah, for sure. I want to get the book out to as many people as possible. But there's a lot of people in business that either are in survival or are just thinking about, how do we get through this? I want you to be punching beyond that. I want you to be focusing on, how do you emerge from this as a victor, as thriving. So if you go to surviveandthrive.cc, go to surviveandthrive.cc. What you'll do if you go there, I've got a stock of books behind me. I will personally write in that book for you and send it to you. If, like Joanne, you've already bought a book, is there somebody that you know in business that would love a copy of the book, and you want to let me know who you want to donate it to, or donate the copy that you've already got, and then I'll handwrite and sign the one to you, Joanne. But I want to get the message out there. So you pay postage and packaging, and I give you the copy of the book. And also on surviveandthrive.cc, there is an opportunity, if you want to learn this quicker and faster and get down into the delivery and the implementation of this, implementation equals income, then you can get the audio book, and there's a digital program there. And as a thank you for anybody that signs up to the digital program, you get one-on-one with me, working with you on your business, a call with you, helping you with your business to implement this, or grapple with a particular sort of gritty issue in your business and come up with a solution to that. So hopefully you can see that I'm passionate about this. I've got a depth of knowledge across a number of different spheres that I have proven to work these strategies to make a massive difference in turning businesses around. And I think in final, I had one client that started lockdown in absolute survival mode, and we rescued the business. And I can't quite go into the full details, but yet, because it's not public yet, but they could not, their journey from survive to thrive has been encapsulated in the last 4 months. And they are in a markedly different scenario than they would have been. And that is down to the hard work of the team, but it's about an insistence and a belief we can do this, we can seek this as an opportunity. These strategies work. They really do. So go to surviveandthrive.cc.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone, for taking part in today's webinar. Thank you so much, Gavin, for sharing all of that information with us. And if you want more information, Gavin shared his website in the chat box, and you can have a look and find out more information there. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thanks
Bye.
very much. Thank you, everybody.